Live for episode 130 of the Wise Guys podcast. I am your host, as always, Brandon Capozziello, and here with me today is a very, very special guest. I'm meeting him for the first time. My guy, HawksHoops. He is joining us today to talk a little bit about, the big news that dropped. The big news that Damian Lillard is a Milwaukee Buck. It's still just taste and feel like venom coming out of my mouth as a Miami Heat fan. I'm still not over it just yet, but the pain is subsiding. It's slowly but surely subsiding. Like I'm saying, Miami boys, it's time to lock in and get ready to go. We're going to talk who's the favorite to come out of the East this year. We got the top three teams, the Bucks, the Celtics, the Miami Heat. I still believe the Heat are up there. Maybe Hawk is going to be like, oh, where my Sixers at? Where my Sixers at? Don't worry. We're going to the Philadelphia Sixers. And is Joel Embiid getting a little anxious in Philly, not getting past the second round? Is he going to be the next superstar to request a trade? We're going to discuss that. Kawhi and PG enter camp fully healthy. Can they finally put it together? I'm hoping. Kawhi guy here. I'm hoping big time. Then we're going to get into some quick takes, maybe some Hawks takes for this upcoming season. Wemby, his boldest take. But before we get into all that, Hawk, how are you doing this fine Sunday morning, October 1st, 2023?
Morning, Brandon. I am doing good. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to have this conversation with you today, man.
Yeah, I am pumped to have this conversation with you, another basketball head, to talk some b-ball. Are you a fan? Did you watch you're probably in the same age group as me, like Mike, you remember that?
Oh yeah. I love that show. I mean, that movie. I absolutely love that movie.
I love that. Before we get into the topics for today, everybody, if you're watching this, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share it with everybody, and be sure to give our boy Hawk a follow and subscribe. Links are in the description for his YouTube and his Twitter. Check him out. Everybody appreciates him. We love you if you do that. We just love you, and everybody loves love.
Yeah,
love
we
you.
do.
All right, let's get into it.
I love Like Mike so much. I saw the second one. Like, that's how much I love Like Mike.
Oh my God, that's like
I remember the second one.
Brought a memory back, and it's so vague that I'm just gonna send it right back, Hawk. I'm just gonna leave it back. I don't want to remember that. But let's get into the first topic of today. You got the Milwaukee Bucks. They got their quote-unquote big three: Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, arguably the best player in the world, and Chris Middleton, who were they able to keep, which is very, very key for that.
Yeah.
You've also got the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown off his Supermax deal, making the big, big money. Kristaps Porzingis is now a Boston Celtic. Marcus Smart is no longer there. And then finally, you got my Miami Heat, the Heatles, with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, the reigning defending Eastern Conference champions. With Tyler Hero coming back, is he going to be a little salty? Probably, but we're going to hopefully work through that. So, Hawk, I'm going to throw it to you. Who do you believe comes out on top of this Eastern Conference?
So it's close to me. And yes, I still think, I'll get it out the way, I still think the Heat are up there. I know a lot of people don't. I still believe in the Miami Heat. Obviously, the Bucks are, after the trade, everyone's favorite. Which on paper, yeah, it makes sense. We got to see how it plays out. The only thing that I'm like worried about the Bucks, I think they're going to have a fantastic regular season. I think they're going to steamroll a lot of people in a regular season, and it's going to be a shock to a lot of people. But we're talking who comes out of the East. So if you're talking who comes out of the East, we're talking playoffs. The only hesitation I have, or the question mark I have with the Bucks, is brand new head coach Adrian Griffin. When you get into the playoffs, 7-game series, and this is part of the reason why I think the Miami Heat are still contenders to leave the East, is because, in my opinion, the Heat have the best coach in the East now, the absolute best coach in the East. So Adrian Griffin, we know he's been an assistant for a long time. He's been with Nick Nurse when they won the championship in Toronto. He spent his time with Tibbs and with Chicago. So he has experience on really good teams, but now he's the one making those final decisions. He's the one that has to know when and when not to call those timeouts, sideline, out of bounds plays, stuff like that. So I want to say the Bucks, but I'm worried about them solely because brand new head coach. I like the Celtics. Honestly, I think the most, as weird as it sounds, like what they did with adding Kristaps Porzingis, I think is great. The only hesitation I have is all their front court likes to be injured come playoff time. Like, they don't like to play a whole season. And like I said, the Heat, I still believe in, mainly because of Spoelstra. And if you ask me, Bam Adebayo is the best defender in the Eastern Conference. So, like, you guys have a lot going for you. I'm going to give the nod to the Celtics, though. If who I had to pick to come out the East, I'd give the nod to the Celtics.
And listen, I feel that and I hear that loud and clear. If I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember. I think the Celtics were my favorites coming out of the East last year. I've always, obviously, I'm not a Celtics fan, I'm a Miami Heat fan, but I've always, as a New England Patriots fan, so I kind of have respect and love for the Boston Celtics, right? But what I wanted to say was, I've always kind of looked at them and said, listen, man, that's a stat. I remember when Kyrie went there, I believed they had the best starting five in all of basketball. And that bench was pretty strong as well. It hadn't become what it once what it would have become, but it was still very strong. So what I'm saying is they've basically had a strong ass team the entire, like basically since Tatum and Brown came into the league, right? But I agree with you. I think the Milwaukee Bucks should be posted as the favorites in the Eastern Conference. Listen, you get it. You go out, and I spoke with my boy Nick on Thursday about this. Also a Miami Heat fan. I think you might know him as well. And I said this: the Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best duo in all of basketball now. They have entered that stratosphere for me. And when you have that, when you have the Milwaukee Bucks team with arguably the best player on the court at any given time, any game he plays, he's going to arguably be the best player on the court, unless maybe Jokic is playing across from him. You've got a true superstar running mate in Damian Lillard, and then you've got a championship caliber and a championship winning cast around them. And a Bobby Portis, a Brook Lopez, who finished in top 3 defensive player of the year, had a career year last year. Guys like now I'm blanking on some of the people. They still got who the hell they all got? Still got.
Oh, the Bucks. They still have
they traded Grayson Allen. They traded Drew Holiday. They still got Jay Crowder. They got Jay Crowder, right?
Jay Crowder's still there, yeah.
Jay Crowder.
Although it might have been a coaching thing with Jay Crowder, but they got him, and then he really didn't play that much in the playoffs. I feel.
Oh no, sorry, he's on the Phoenix Suns. Is he on the Phoenix Suns or is he on the?
No, he's on the Bucks. He's on the Bucks. I'm pretty sure he's on the Bucks, but they didn't play him much.
Yeah, the Suns was where he was having his issues, right? With the and they wouldn't play him and stuff was happening like that. Yeah. And he didn't get that much time in there. But yeah,
they traded him for a bunch of seconds and didn't play him.
Yeah. I think that's going to change this year. I think Jay Crowder is going to be a pretty important piece of that team now. They're going to need that 3-and-D kind of guy. And listen, as a Miami Heat fan, I saw a lot of threes just clank off the side of the rim from Jay Crowder. So he's very, very sporadic. But what I was saying is a championship winning cast around them. And Chris Middleton, obviously, I didn't get to Chris Middleton. That third guy in that big three, he's going to be so important. He's coming off of, that injury, that what was it? Ankle, knee? What he injured? Do you remember what it was?
Dame or
no? Chris Middleton.
Dame. Chris I want to say it was his knee. I want to say it was his knee.
So yeah, he's hopefully he's going to be healthier this season. And what's great for Middleton is that now he's not going to be asked to be that second guy. He's going to take an even backer seat, right? If that's even a word. He's going to be that guy that's asked to be like, all right, now just get, he's probably going to be more of just a catch and shoot guy, and then maybe running the second team. Maybe staying a little bit further on the when the bench comes in the game. So that's very, very important for them. And then they've already got their quote unquote Kevin Love, Chris Bosh type, if you want to compare to the LeBron big threes, and a Brook Lopez / Bobby Portis. They've already got that. So Middleton can just fill in. And Middleton's not a slouch defensively. I know he's older. I know he's been injured, but he's 6'7". He's 220-ish. He's a vet. He knows how to play defense, and he can cause some trouble. So I give the Milwaukee Bucks. I agree with you, though, Hawk. My two biggest questions for the Milwaukee Bucks are, obviously, number one is Adrian Phillips, a new rookie head coach for that team. And we all know when you kind of implement a new big piece like a Damian Lillard to a team, a la Kevin Durant was kind of an outlier because that team was just so well oiled and they just kind of burned it out. But usually it takes like a year. So will the meshing take a year for this team? Those are my two questions for the Milwaukee Bucks, really. But then for me, next in Miami and Boston, 2A, 2B for me, Hawk. It's really hard for me to pick. Listen, I know I made a TikTok recently, and at the end of it, I said, the Boston Celtics, Miami own you. Like, you call us daddy still. All right. And that's still true. That is still true. I'm just saying, we went through you without Tyler Hero. Nobody saw us coming. I'm just saying. But I've always given the Boston Celtics their love and respect because they are that good of a team. And Mazzulla has done a very good job. He's done a very good job in place of Ime Udoka. He hasn't fumbled the bag, so to say, right?
Yeah, for the most part. No.
He's done a good job. Obviously, some questions there. He gets a little tensious with the media because he feels like the media is coming at him and always being like, "Well, Ime wouldn't have done this, if he would have done this." And he's like, "Well, I'm not Ime. I'm Joe Mazzulla, and we're in this position now, and this is what we're doing, right?" But just to wrap it up, and then I'll let you finish it off. The interesting thing with Boston is going to be the couple concerns for me. Is Brogdon even playable? Because I'm pretty sure. Because remember, the Clippers trade was supposed to. I think it was the Clippers was literally in action. It was going to happen, and then he couldn't pass a physical, I believe. So
So I don't know if he was fully. I don't know if it's necessarily fully injured now, or more so they had concerns from the results of their physical. And maybe they were like, we don't know how much we're going to get from you during the regular season, which definitely is a concern.
Very much, because he didn't
their
play.
Point guard position is concerning.
Yeah, he didn't play in the East. Did he play at all in the playoffs, or he played just a little bit in the playoffs? I think
he played in the second round because I vividly remember him hitting I think 6 threes against my Sixers in the second round.
I don't think he played against.
I'm like, what is this guy doing?
I think he missed. I think he missed games against Miami though. If I'm not mistaken, my memory.
I think you're right.
Once was. But yeah, that's a major question for me. Is Brogdon, because when he was brought in, this is what I believe, and I think a lot of people felt the same way. Was all right. Now you got that because remember when they went to the finals, a lot of people's major issue, one of mine was they don't have that true point guard to run the offense and really get everybody set and everybody ready. Like Marcus Smart is very good, and we all love Marcus Smart and his defensive ability and stuff, but he's not a true point guard, really. He's really not.
Yeah.
So now you bring in Brogdon, and you're like, okay, this guy, 50, 40, 90 guy, he can pass. He's not this elite facilitator, but he's a prototypical point guard, and he can score the ball too. And then the injury started ramping up for Brogdon, and then obviously he fell apart in the playoffs later in the playoffs. No more Marcus Smart. Like I mentioned, he's gone. He's not there anymore. That's going to be a big blow because it's kind of like the Dallas Cowboys and Trevon Diggs going down. Is Marcus Smart the best player on the team? No. Is Trevon Diggs the best player on that defense? No. Micah Parsons is, and Jason Tatum is. But those two guys, Smart and Diggs, they're the heart and soul of their their respective teams. And that's what just like kind of rips at you. And you're hoping that doesn't create a shockwave and really tear this team apart, because that won't be good. They also lost Grant Williams, who's another tough-minded dude, a 3-and-D guy who's not afraid to get in your face. I know he literally sparked the demon and woke the giant up in Jimmy Butler, but you still like the energy that he brought. You like it. You respect where he was coming from. The result wasn't very good, but you respect where he was coming from. And then Kristaps Porzingis, their biggest addition, right? My only question with him is he going to be able to replicate what he did in Washington as a 1, and now he's a 3? Like, now I spoke on it before, the Kevin Love, Chris Bosh role. Can he fill that? What do you think?
That's a good point. That's actually a really good point, because as you were saying that, I'm thinking back, well, part of the reason I think that he didn't work in Dallas is I think he wanted the ball a little bit more. And
he openly complained.
You weren't going to get the touches that you wanted or that you're used to getting. I think maybe he might realize that this situation is a little bit different than the Dallas situation, and no offense to Dallas, but the Celtics, at least comparing the time frames of where the Dallas was now and where the Celtics are now, the Celtics are obviously a better team with real championship aspirations. So maybe realizing he has a shot to go on a real legit deep playoff run, potentially win the title. I'm hoping that gets him in the right mindset of being like, okay, it's Tatum, it's Brown, then it's me. Like, and realizing where he might fall in that offensive pecking order. Defensively, though, I think he's going to have a big impact on this team. As long as he buys in on the offensive side of the ball, I think he's going to have a really big impact on the defensive side as well. And I get the Marcus Smart thing, and yes, it's a big concern. It really, to me, depends on how healthy Malcolm Brogdon is. Because without him, I like Derek White, but he's not. I like him more defensively instead of like a playmaking, setting the table for others.
He's like a spark plug guy. You know, I know he came in and listened.
Yeah.
He was a pain in my ass in the Eastern Conference Finals, but he's more of a spark plug guy. He can come in, and he can give you defensively, and listen, he can make big time shots. He's not afraid to take them and make them.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
My fear is if you have to start him because Brogdon is down, he's going to take that big time shot thing and be doing that in the second quarter. And you're like, what are you doing?
Definitely don't want to put the ball in Jaylen Brown and Tatum's hands as the facilitator, because we've seen a lot of their setbacks, especially Jaylen Brown, is their handles. Their going left. What did Draymond say in the finals? Just make him go left. Just make him go left. That was our game plan. Just make him go left. And you saw how many times the ball was banging around, batting off people's feet, and just going all over the place. You know, you would hope from a guy like Jason Tatum, who's being heralded as this arguably could be top 5 player, would be able to fix that. And Jaylen Brown, who I'm a big fan of, who's had comparisons to Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade never had those type of problems. Like you're getting paid $200+ million. Freaking learn to go left, man.
You gotta be able to go left. You gotta be able to go left.
And then finally on the Miami Heat, I'll just, you know, biggest question for the Miami Heat are, I mentioned it earlier, where's Tyler Hero's head at? You know, this is the second year, third year, whatever it is, that he's been in trade rumors. This one was kind of more open and like everything was out there, right? And even he deleted everything off Twitter.
I'm about to say, have you seen his tweet?
Yeah. And he's been tweeting lately. I'm going to get a Dame jersey. It's like, where's his head at? You know, is he going to be feeling sour grapes? Is he going to demand a trade eventually where he's like, you know what, you want to get rid of me, now I want to get rid of you?
Yeah,
that could be very interesting. How is Lowry going to be in the playoffs? You know, he was able to spark it last year and come out and big some big ass minutes. Can he strum it up again? Because there was reports in the playoffs that, dude, this guy was being held together by a thread. Like his body was being held together by a thread. Like he was not. And he's going to have to go through another grueling ass season. Can he do it again? Can Jovic and Hami or either of them, can they contribute now? Like now. We need one of them to contribute now. And then finally, can Caleb Martin take on a bigger role offensively in the regular season? You know, because that's going to be a big part too. So those are my biggest questions for the Miami Heat.
That's a good point. I like the Caleb Martin conversation because I think he can fill that role that, you know, Strus and Vincent had. He can fill that role if he steps up to it. That role is there for him at least. I'll say that it's his for the taking.
He can.
I like the Heat.
Huh?
I like your team, and I get even the Tyler Hero concern.
Yeah. But I do think he's going to be okay though.
That's what I was going to say. I think he'll be okay because the people that he was in rumors with, like, you have to get it. Like you have to get it. Like the people you were in rumors with, you have to get it. It's not like they were rumors to trade you for like just another guy who's just on your level or even potentially a lesser role than you. Yeah. They were trading for guys who were either top 10 or arguably top 10. So
like Glenn Davis or something.
It's a business.
Exactly. Big baby. No offense. Shout out. But yeah, so here's an interesting question I want to pose to you. I asked Nick this too, and Nick believes that we should do this, and I emphatically disagree. I do not think this. Do you think the Miami Heat should go star hunting still?
Wow. I guess I would say it depends on who the star is.
So let's talk. You want to talk? So Zach LaVine, I guess, was the biggest name that Nick was able to come up with, because that's like the biggest name out there. I can't think of anybody else either right now off the top of my head. And if you're thinking like,
this might sound blasphemous, but I would say if it's Zach, no.
Like, that's what I said. Yeah, go ahead.
No, because if you get Zach, I'm thinking obviously the trade is some Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
And yes, Zach is better than Tyler Hero now. And this might sound crazy, but is it marginally better? Like, how much better is it?
This is what I said.
Does that make your team?
This is what I said.
Zach is better.
Yes.
Zach is better.
He's better, yes.
But how much better are we really talking here? Like, how add Zach LaVine to the team? I don't know if how much definitively better that makes the Miami Heat.
Yes.
It does make them better,
Yeah.
but I don't know how much definitively better. Like, does it make you automatically better than the Celtics or the Bucks? No, you're still in the realm of them, but it doesn't make you automatically better than them. So if it doesn't make you automatically better, I don't see the need to do it, only because when you get star hunting, we always have the conversation. Oh, then it takes time to gel. You got to get used to playing with new guys. Like, there's a learning curve to it, and especially a piece like that, a piece that's would come in there knowing he's going to get the ball a lot. It's going to change a lot of things, change how they play. I don't think they need to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I hear you there, and I echo literally every sentiment that you just made, because that's exactly what I was saying to Nick. I literally started off by saying to Nick, I was like, Zach LaVine's not a needle mover, man.
No,
he's not top 20. He's not top 20.
No,
I have him. I think last time I looked, I have him maybe 29, 30 in the league, and that's kind of right. He's around that range, right? 28 to like maybe 33, somewhere in that range, maybe 35 on the back end. That's not a needle mover. And then, like you said too, and this is literally I said too. I said, how much is the difference between Zach LaVine and Tyler Hero? Like, LaVine is in his prime right now. Tyler Hero's 23, 24 years old. He just averaged back-to-back 20-point seasons. You kind of would expect Zach LaVine is kind of probably Tyler Hero's ceiling. Like, that's kind of where you expect Tyler Hero to end up one day.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already,
I would say
Zach LaVine had to become a shooter. He was not a shooter early on. He was a straight dunker and a finisher at the rim. Tyler Hero's a pure shooter. That's what you all remember. I'm a bucket. That's what he is. So I completely agree with you. I don't believe the Miami Heat should go star hunting, because you missed out on Dame, and that's just it. Would listen. I never thought Kevin Durant was coming. I never thought he was coming back in 2016. It was. I did not believe that. I thought he was either going to stay in OKC or go to Washington, to be honest with you. And then later on,
Washington so bad.
I was like, dude, go home. Like, go play with John Wall, Bradley Beal, and don't expect that can be a weakest move by a superstar in NBA history. So no star hunting for me for the Miami Heat. Run it back. We were literally in 3 out of the last 4 Eastern Conference Finals, 2 out of the last 4 finals. We've got it's basically a very similar team. From 2020 to now, a couple different pieces. And I do believe, I truly do believe Goran Dragic is coming back. I know people look at me and go, who cares about Goran Dragic? He's just how this is what I mean. How great would it have been last year if we had Goran Dragic on the Miami Heat when Kyle Lowry went down? How important? Yeah. Whoa, man. Like, that's all I'm saying. He would just spell for people. If Kyle Lowry goes down, which we kind of could expect, Goran Dragic can come in and fill basically the same amount. Goran Dragic can stroke it. Goran Dragic can pass the ball. He can finish. He can make free throws. He's not a great defender or a good defender anymore, but he's a smart defender. He's not going to leave himself out of position and stuff like that. And Jimmy loves him. They love each other. They gained like a real connection. They were really tight. So I do believe he's coming back. So, yeah, like I said, just run it back with the Miami Heat. We tried to get Dame. We 100%. Tried our best. Portland wasn't budging. It's time to move on. No star hunt. And like I said, Zach LaVine's the best guy out there. It's not needle moving. I'm good with that. Do you have anything else to say on the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference before we move on to your team?
Only question I have for you is, because everybody's reported to be linked to him now. Do you want the Heat to go after Drew?
No, I'm good. I'm good with Kyle. I'm good with Kyle Lowry, and I'm good with Goran Dragic. And I got into a little back and forth on Twitter with somebody who was like, dude, Goran Dragic and Kyle Lowry are 37. How do you not want Drew? Listen, one, I don't want Drew because it'll be such a letdown, such a wet fart of you were having Dame. Oh, here's Drew Holiday. Yeah. Drew Holiday's a good player. He fits the system very much. I get it, but it's just a wet fart, and I'm good on it, really. Also, I don't really know. Do they want to do business with the Miami Heat? Does Portland? Because it looks like they didn't want to trade Damian Lillard. Now you want to trade him. I'm not trying to give up firsts for Drew Holiday. I'm all right. I don't want to give up one. I don't want to give up two. So no to Drew Holiday, and 1,000 and emphatically no. I do not want James Harden. So let's move on to your Philadelphia.
Please take him off our hands.
The Philadelphia 76ers. Hawk. It's going to be interesting to get your thoughts because I don't really know exactly where you stand with Philly. I can kind of get your vibe for it. So I think you're more of an objective Philadelphia 76ers fan. You understand where you guys are in the pecking order. But I'm going to ask you straight up. Do you believe Joel Embiid will be next to request a trade?
That question hurts my soul. So I'll say this: I am an objective Philly fan. When someone asks me a question about Philly, I know how to be objective. If you ask me what's in my heart, every single year I tell people we can at least make it out the second round. Every year for the past 3 seasons, I believed since like a 2018 year, we've had a roster that can make it out the second round. Have we? No. Am I going to believe it again this season? Probably. Am I going to make a video about it? No. For me, when it comes to Joel and Philly, I think it's twofold. Yes, he could be the next. He 100% could be the next guy to request a trade. Like he could be. I could see that. The writing's on the wall. Second round exit after second round exit after second round exit. You just won an MVP. But in the same breath, I think there needs to be some onus, some responsibility, some reflection on Joel's part of, has the Sixers organization and their decisions been perfect to 100%? Absolutely not. Have they tried to do things though? A lot of people may think the James Harden trade was in hindsight, being 2020, was a failure. We shouldn't have done it. Whatever. He doesn't even want to be here now. At the time, that trade showed me that the Sixers believed in Joel. That is not the exact same, but that is very similar to Giannis being like, yo, I want to win. They go get Dame. Joel's like, I want to win. They go get James Harden. Now, James Harden was coming off an injury. Like I said, some people might not love the trade, but considering what the other options were out there at the time, Dame wasn't fully even available. Like people were saying, well, go trade for Dame. With the situation we were in, they tried to put a team around him that could win. And now they've, to varying levels of success, we've had Jimmy. Now we have Tobias. We had JJ. The team is trying. I would say 100% yes, he wants the next trade if the team wasn't doing anything, if we were a stagnant organization not doing anything. They're trying to do stuff. It's not working. So I can see him wanting a trade. But even if he does, I don't think it would be to the standpoint of it was 100% the organization. They just failed to put a team around me. That's not the vibe that's not just the truth that happened here. They tried to put a team around him. Joel's either been injured come playoff time or stomach sickness come playoff time, and some things are freak accidents. Pascal Siakam does a spin move 2 seasons ago and it breaks his face and he misses the first couple of games of that Miami Heat series. Like some things have been freak accidents. But that Atlanta Hawks series, when he and Ben were trash, that nothing freak accident happened there. You just played bad in the playoffs. So yeah, some of it is freak accidents and some of it's injuries. So you got to just be able to stay healthy. And then you also just have to elevate your game. And I get it. Not every player elevates their game in the playoffs. It's plenty of players who don't elevate their game. But if Joel wants to be considered, he just won an MVP. If he wants to be considered one of the greats in the league, the greats elevate their game in the playoffs, and he hasn't done that yet.
100%. 100%. Speaking of guys who don't elevate in the playoffs, I mean, I don't know about you, but I truly do believe James Harden's the worst playoff performer in NBA history. And I really don't even think it's close, if I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't think it's close.
I'm not mad at that.
I have the stats to literally back it up of how bad he has been. Listen, it's bad. It's really bad. But Joel Embiid, he's got 2 years left with a player option in 2026, 2027 at $59 million. And he'll be aged 32 years old.
Yeah.
It would obviously
be just leaving it so fast.
Well, I mean, yeah, he took a year and a half off at his rookie season really there, and then he finally was able to get, and then even his early seasons when he was playing, it wasn't consistently, it wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he started playing basketball late too, as well, right? He was
16. I think he was 16 when he started playing basketball.
Yeah, he didn't get into it. Very interesting. I don't know. Are you an MMA fan by chance?
Not much. No.
Okay.
Is there someone with a similar story?
Well, Francis Ngannou, who's from Africa, he was able to escape Africa because he worked in the sand mines and he was able to go to France. Didn't start MMA or boxing until his, I think, maybe 18, 19 years old as well. And he became the UFC World Heavyweight Champion. And he's fighting Tyson Fury next month in a boxing match. So now he's getting paid big. So it's just interesting how those things work out. But this is So how do I want to work this first? This is what I'll say. Let's work the him staying in Philly option first. This
Okay.
is what I kind of went through the teams in the NBA, Hawk, and possible teammates to pair with a Philadelphia 76ers. And I kind of like picked people that could possibly be on their way out. There's been kind of rumors and reports, and people that would actually like kind of help and make a difference for them, right? So first
Mhm.
name would be Trae Young. 2 years with an option. I know. Listen, listen, he is literally, and this is not hyperbole, he's the worst defensive player in
He
the
is.
league
That's why I was
right
like,
now.
oof.
It's not
Okay.
even close, dude. It's not even close. But he is a star in this league. He can put
Yeah.
up points. He can facilitate at a high level. And that's why I say Trae Young is there. Zach LaVine, a guy we talked about from Miami Heat, 2 years with an option as well. He's a 25 point per game scorer. He can defend, not in a high level, but he's a solid defender. He's nothing, not Drew Holiday or nothing like that, but he's good. This is a young guy, right? That I'm very high on. I have very much belief that this guy can be a superstar one day and actually will be a superstar one day. LaMelo Ball. He's a free agent this year.
Yeah.
I think it's restricted free agent because of his rookie contract, but he's up for the max, his rookie max. That's an interesting name. I know he's really young. Does he match the timeline of Embiid? Not necessarily, but we have seen in the past players can elevate their game at a younger level when playing with another elite player, and maybe that could be the case for an Embiid and a LaMelo. That's all I'm saying. And LaMelo's not staying in Charlotte long term. People let's not. He's leaving.
No, he's not.
Like almost immediately when he's able to.
Yeah. I mean, he wants a big city. He wants a big city.
Yeah, he wants to go, and that's why I mentioned Philly, because Philly's. It should be mentioned as a big city. It is. It's the sports people. They
at the very least, it's like a
B
B tier big city. Yeah, at the very least, I get that.
But their fans are A+ tier. Like that, it elevates them.
Oh yeah.
And then finally, a guy with 1 year left on his contract, who I think there was a report a couple weeks or a month ago that he's not going to be resigning, is Brandon Ingram. Those are the names I came up with of possible teammates for an Embiid. Everybody else, Donovan Mitchell's not coming. I'm sorry, he's not coming to Miami either. He's going to New York. It's kind of laid out and simple. So that's kind of where I'm at with. Those are the guys, the options that you can make right now, impacts right now that are kind of willing to leave and could be moved. I don't know if any of those really go like, let's do it now. Yeah, that's what I came up with for you.
So none of those guys move a needle for us in my mind.
Yeah.
Like the biggest needle mover I like the idea we have to fill that point guard position.
100%.
Defensively, neither of them are good, but neither was James. So like we're not going to be missing much on the defensive side of the ball.
LaMelo's better than both of them though. He's not
LaMelo's better than both of them. I'll give you that.
Yeah, because
sure.
he's got 6'7". I think he's still filling into his man body, and he's got quick hands. He can at least get the hands in there and get the steals.
I think the biggest question I have for the Sixers is what did they do with Tobias Harris's money when he's gone? Like that's the biggest question for me, and that's why I think I don't know if it's the right decision, but to me, I think that's the timeline that the Sixers are going to be moving on. Not to call this year a waste or a wash, but unless they make a move to go get one of those guys, like unless they make a splash with this James Harden trade, the next opportunity for them to do something would be to try to sign somebody when they have some money when Tobias is a free agent next summer. But that also means another year of waiting. And then that means another year of now Joel's like, well, what are we doing? I'm out. Yeah. So
and
all those names make sense to me. Another year on that body. If I had to pick out of the names you missed, it would either be Trae or LaMelo, just because with the team that we have constructed, as much as I love Maxey, he hasn't shown me enough playmaking that if Maxey's looked at or whoever is looked at as our primary playmaker, the ball's going to get real stagnant and the ball movement is not really going to be there. His playoff failings are apparent. I wanted to run it back with Harden, personally. Like, I really, really did. Our regular season was fantastic. We fell short in the playoffs. I'm one of those people who I realize if Harden stays, it doesn't make us favorites. It doesn't, even probably in most people's books, doesn't even keep us in the echelon as the Heat, the Bucks, and the Celtics. But I also realize when it comes to NBA basketball, anything can happen. Like, truly, just anything can happen. And this could be some of the Sixers' love in my heart that's just there, but truly anything can happen. You play the guys who are in front of you. We saw Giannis get injured and missed a couple of games. And while I don't think that's the reason why the Heat beat the Bucks, a lot of people will tell you that's the reason why the Heat beat the Bucks. Because stuff just happens. I think our best solution, unless I don't see a better solution than just keeping James Harden. Like, there's no trade. And no, does he want to be there? No. If he shows up, is he probably going to put on the fat suit and let a ball roll out of bounds? Probably. And that's why you can't keep him. Yeah. But if he was I don't mean it like this, but if he was a person who just like, hey, you pay me to do my job, I'm gonna show up and do my job. If he showed up and did his job and played to his ability, we'd still be good. Hero. We'd still be at least in the conversation. So
hey, so I mean, I hear you, right? And you bring up Tobias, and I wrote this down too. It does come down to, because Tobias is a free agent after this season, right? This is his last year in his contract. Man, I don't think you can just run it with him and lose him for nothing. Like, I know he's not this star player. He's an all-star caliber player. If I'm you, I'm packaging him with James Harden and maybe trying to get something big there, because that's where the real money is. Because now you got two all-star caliber players that can be moved to either one or two different teams, whatever. And, Brandon Ingram's a free agent. I don't know. Is Brandon Ingram, he's better than Tobias. How much better? A little bit. There's a difference there. BI is definitely younger, so he's got a little bit more potential and greener grass maybe on the other side. Is that an interesting move they want to make? Maybe send Harden to New Orleans and Tobias to New Orleans and get BI back. And BI is like, all right, I'll re-sign with the Philadelphia 76ers, and you run it with BI and Joel. I don't know. I know that wasn't the two names that you brought up. LaMelo,
I like that idea. I thought about it. He's just injured all the time. Well, in recent history, he's dealt with some injuries.
Yeah. These would all be obviously predicated on hoping. And then you mentioned Mr. Tyrese Maxey. That's another thing. How good will Tyrese Maxey's ceiling be? Is his ceiling a 2 or is it a 3? Because, you can't go into this season with Tyrese Maxey as your 2 when he's really masquerading as a 3. That's just not going to work at all. But yeah, I saw this comment, Hawk. I don't know if you saw it. I got to bring this up. This is I mean, I don't know who this is. Mega VR freak. Anyways, Raptors winning the East easily. Who are you?
VR was good.
VR
modeled my stream. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what are you doing? You don't know nothing if you think it's the damn Toronto Raptors. You haven't been relevant since Kawhi, and you won't be relevant again either. All right, baby dinosaur. Possible landing spots for Joel Embiid. These are the ones I wrote down. The Knicks are always going to be, an option because they're a big market, but I believe they're going to get Donovan Mitchell, and then that's going to kind of fill up their cap. They're not going to have much more to offer up. Atlanta, I know, obviously we talked Trae Young going to Philly, but that could obviously be a flipping Joel going to Atlanta. Atlanta is also a big market too. They just haven't, been featured as a big market. People love Atlanta. Chicago, that's an interesting one too. That would be hella interesting with like a Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, and Joel Embiid. If Lonzo's able to get healthy, hoping for him because I'm a really big fan of him. Here's another one. Memphis would be hella interesting. I think he kind of fits that too. They need a guy to give Ja Morant that next big guy to really pair Ja up with that. That's an interesting one that I thought about. Minnesota, if they wanted to get rid of Cat because Cat's not getting the job done. Joel come in there with Ant and Joel. OKC, New Orleans, and then Dallas were kind of like my landing spots. But I got to be honest with you. I didn't get my answer. Give my answer yet. I don't think Joel Embiid should leave the Philadelphia 76ers. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. They've done a lot good for him. And I think he's just got to stick it out. It's not their fault that, listen, and I agreed with you early on in this. You said the move had to be made for Harden, right? Hindsight's 2020. It had to be made because Ben Simmons was one. There was no coming back.
He was not playing.
Like that was
he was just not
no
showing
coming
up.
Back from that either. You had Joel Embiid making public comments about Ben Simmons too. You couldn't come back from that. So you had to make that deal. I'm not a big fan of James Harden, but you had to make that deal. You had to. You didn't foresee this happening. James Harden is a wild man. You don't know what this guy's going to. He literally said, I'll come back if you fire Doc Rivers. Okay, James, we got rid of Doc for you. I'm not coming back now because Daryl Morey, you promised me something that wasn't actually in writing. It was a handshake deal, and God damn it, you're a liar, and I hate you. Can't expect that. You don't know what's going on with this guy. So I think he's got to stay. Like I said, I think the move is to move a James Harden and Tobias Harris package and trying to get the best player that you possibly can to pair up. And I think I think a BI is possibly the best option out there. To be honest with you, that's viable.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm happy to know I'm not crazy because as you were mentioning those teams, I'm like, he's going to get the same result that he's been getting in Philly all these years if he goes to any of those teams. Like, those teams are likely also second round exits, even if you add him to those teams. And
Dallas wouldn't be
based on what's around him.
If Dallas kept Kyrie and Luka.
Yeah, Dallas in my mind was the best option.
Yeah, that would be a big,
but then
Mark Cuban's got the pockets for it though. He's got the pockets.
He does.
So
off the top of my head, I don't know Dallas's like draft compensation and stuff like that, but I'm thinking player wise, I'm like, you got to throw a lot of players in the match Joel's contract to make that trade even work.
They traded everything for Kyrie.
True, yeah, they traded everything for Kyrie. So
they're not. He's not going to Dallas. He's not going to Dallas.
Yeah, it's not. That's the best fit out of the names you mentioned. Dallas is the best fit.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, it would be the compete for championships now. We can win now.
Yeah.
Yes. But that wraps up. You got anything else? You want to say on your Philadelphia 76ers?
Last thing I'll say on the Sixers is this. If this is a big if, but if Harden comes back on some way or whatever we get for Harden, the biggest thing I'm excited for the Sixers going into the season is a new head coach. Like, I'm really looking forward to see what Nick Nurse can do with this team. One of the things that most Sixers fans will tell you that was our biggest frustration with Doc, and not that he's a bad coach or anything like that. His systems that he puts in place are usually really, really good. Doc just doesn't like to make adjustments. Like, there'd be times when you're watching a game, it's like, can we try to do something different? Can we do something different? And he's stuck in his ways. When he sees what he likes, he just goes with it. And Nick Nurse is a coach that's willing to make adjustments. So I would love to see what some late game execution looks like from Nurse, what in a playoff series, what game to game, when you're making, when you're having that coaching battle. I think Nick Nurse is better in that role of making those adjustments. I'm looking forward to that, but it might be an up and down season for us again.
It's going to be a roll call. I do got to say quickly on Nick Nurse. I do love Nick. I think he's an upgrade. I'm not a hater on Doc. Doc, I believe, is he's a top 10, top 15 head coach. He's, in 9 to 13 all time. I'm talking like this guy is in there. He's got the wins. He's got a championship. He obviously is, on the lower end that for a reason because he's got all those playoff shortcomings, but he's still a very, very good head coach in this league. But Nick Nurse is better. I'm forgetting exactly where I rank my top head coaches, but he's up there in the same vein of like, I know Spo and Ty Lue kind of and Pop are kind of my top 3. Those are my top 3 guys. But Nick Nurse is in that 4, 5, 6 range. Like Nick Nurse is that dude. He's able to get the best out of not very much.
Yeah.
So next up, let's get to it. My boy Kawhi. This is my guy, man. I'm a big Kawhi guy. I heralded him as he should have been the best. He would have been the best player in the world if not for injuries. He would have taken that crown from LeBron James.
I like that.
After Toronto, he would have been the best player in the world because LA would listen. I'm telling you right now, that's just I know this for a fact because I saw it with my own damn 2 eyes. Him having in San Antonio, he has the Big 4 Golden State Warriors down 27 points in the third quarter in Oracle before Zaza Pacheep shot happened. God damn dude. Listen, but we got reports. I saw this and it kind of lit me up, but then I kind of like came back to Earth Hawk. I'm going to be honest with you because Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are entering camp healthy, fully healthy. I think actually was the verbatim the words that were used. I'm the biggest Kawhi guy, like I said, but it is so hard for me to get excited because of what you kind of know is kind of the outcome. It's literally the definition of insanity. You do the same thing over and over again. You expect different results. But I'm going to say this again. If this team is healthy, this team is a championship caliber team. It
Oh,
really, really
100%.
is. So I'm going to throw it to you. I don't know I haven't heard your thoughts on Kawhi, the Clippers, Paul George. So let me get your thoughts going into the season. Can the Clippers finally put it together?
So funny, I'll say this first. Just like as big as a Kawhi fan you are, I'm probably that big of a Paul George fan. I've loved Paul George since he got in the league, playing behind Danny Granger, like PG 24. Like I love Paul George. Loved him when he went to OKC. And I thought him and Kawhi pairing together was a match made in heaven. If you boot up 2K, they're one of the best. Like they're amazing on paper, but they have to just stay healthy.
Yeah, he just quickly for the pairing, right? Perfect pairing, because one of the biggest slights on Paul George is he doesn't want to be the guy. He's not a Batman, right? He likes to be a Robin. Well, guess what? I got you Batman here. Now you can be a Robin. Go ahead.
And he honestly probably could be the best Robin in the league if we're being real. Like he's really, really good. I think the only thing that holds them back obviously is the health. I saw that same report saying that they were healthy this year. The reports coming out that, well, we saw Ty Lue say, I told them we have to take the regular season seriously, which honestly made me chuckle a little bit because I'm like, by saying that, you're admitting, have you not been taking the regular season seriously in the last couple of years? Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are the best doing NBA right now. I'm not mad at that if they're healthy, but the problem is they're never healthy. I love this team on paper. I absolutely love this team on paper. I don't think they're going to be healthy come playoffs. And every year I thought they were going to be healthy come playoffs. Every year I'm like, the Clippers have to be entitled contention. Just because if you look at their roster, like there's no holes. At least the past couple years, there haven't been any real big holes in their roster. They have guys who can play multiple positions. They have guys who can defend. They have shooters who can stretch the floor. They have, I love their big. Like they have a really good team. They have a really, really good team. They're coached well, but come playoffs, one of them is never there. And then the deep run they had, I want to say 2 years ago, it was when Kawhi was out and Paul George was carrying it. Imagine if Kawhi was there on that deep run that they had. That's a championship team.
Yeah, when they lost to who did they lose to? Was it Dallas? They lost to Dallas, right?
Yes.
When Kawhi went down?
Yes.
Yeah, when the Kawhi went down, he banged into, or no, was that Utah? No. Oh, sorry. They were playing Utah when he went down. He banged into Joe Ingles' knee. And then they finished that series. Paul George was carried, but then they weren't able to play against the job. Yeah. Listen. I completely agree with everything that you said. This team on paper, Hawk, is literally top to bottom stat. There's the 3-and-D. What is this league nowadays? 3-and-Ds. If you can find 3-and-Ds, you're freaking winning. This is literally all their team is 3-and-Ds. You got Kawhi at his very core, 3-and-D guy, can be. Obviously mid-range, but he can shoot. Listen, this guy has become such a great three-point shooter. It's insane.
He's so efficient.
Machine efficient. That's why they call him the freaking Terminator. From when he came into the league, I remember hearing reports that his whole shooting form and stuff had to be reworked when coming into San Antonio. And they really made this guy, like, I hate this, a lot of comparisons. MJ 2.0 in the mid-range department. Like, it's ridiculous. Paul George, at his core, 3-and-D guy. You got guys like a Marcus Morris, Batum, Robert Covington, all 3-and-D guys, all of them veterans too. You got Powell. He's not a great defender, but he's a solid defender, and he can score with you. Listen, 42 and 27 against Phoenix. He put up those 2 games. He was going. And then you got the big 2 boys down low in Zubac and Plumlee, and I'm a big fan of Zubac. I think he's a really good center.
Oh, I love Zubac.
He's obviously a mold from yesteryear, because he can't stretch the floor with the shit. But he's just energy player. And then obviously I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mr. Russell Westbrook. Now, Russell Westbrook and I have had a very contentious relationship over the last couple of years, Hawk. When he came to the Clippers, I was a guy that was like, what the hell are we doing?
Oh, you didn't like it? No,
not one bit. Because I was like, hold on. Because at the time, he was inefficient as hell, a machine, couldn't shoot with guard. They didn't need a Russell Westbrook. But I'll be damned, Hawk, if this guy didn't make me a believer. especially in the playoffs.
Yeah.
When he was nah, and he looked like Russell Westbrook of old, and this guy was absolutely balling. He's playing what I like to call inspired ball. He's playing with the chip.
yeah.
He already plays with the chip on his shoulder, but that chip got freaking enlarged by a ton.
Yeah.
And he, especially when he goes up against KD teams, I mean, he takes it to another level, right? He's taking that to another level, right? And he's doing all the dirty work and all the stuff nobody else wants to do, and that's what Russell Westbrook is doing.
Yeah.
And listen, he's not a great defender, right? But when he wants to be, because this is what I say about defense.
Yeah.
Defense is a lot of just really effort. A lot of it is just effort. Do you want to do it? And then if you have the athletic ability, especially of a Russell Westbrook, arguably the most athletic point guard ever in NBA history, if you've got that component, and then you've got the component of everybody knows Russell Westbrook gives 110% every night on the floor offensively, all you got to do is put that defensively, Russ. I'm not joking. You can be an all-defensive player. Russell Westbrook can be an all-defensive player if you really, really want it to be. He's got the capability. You saw it in the Phoenix series. So I've become a believer in that Hawk, right? I started off, this is a terrible move. I become a believer and I love it now. That's kind of really why I don't want James Harden coming to the Clippers, because I just don't think it fits anymore. James Harden plays a very specific style of offense. I know you've probably seen it a lot, where it's like everybody else just stand in the corner. I'm going to dribble for 20 seconds and then I'll make a play, right? That's not a style of play that's going to work, especially when you have a Tobias Harris who's not a just catch and shoot guy, who can score the ball at a good clip. If you just gave him the ball and give him some opportunities, it just makes him, it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And then finally, I do want to say this, an under the radar move that they made that I didn't know, but when I was doing a little research yesterday, I saw, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Trading for Kenyon Martin Jr. Now, I know he's not a great player, right? He's not. He's a young-ass player. They traded 2 future second-rounders, but he started 49 games last year, played all 82. He averaged 12.7 points, 5.5 rebounds on 57% shooting from the field. He's young, he's tall, he's long, he's lanky. 6'7". He'll be 23 in January. He's 216 pounds right now. He'll bulk up. That's a good move. That's another guy that they can make a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was a good pickup too.
Yeah, I love the team, but like you said, and like everybody said, and like I said, what does it all come down to? The health. That's what it comes down to. Now I'm going to say this though to wrap it up, and then you can comment on it. If they fail again, which I don't think it's going to be due to talent, it'll be due to the injury. If they fail again, Ty Lue is going to leave. He's going to leave. I mean, the guy literally looks like, you know how when the pictures of presidents, when they become president, and then you flip back 4 or 8 years later, and they look like they've been disheveled? That's what Ty Lue looks like as a Clipper. Yes. He's like, he came in bright and fresh, and now he's just grayed hair. Like, oh my God, Kawhi and Paul George are out again.
That's a great analogy.
But that's what I just got to say is they better get moving now, because the clock is ticking, and we all know this, right? That new stadium, the new arena is opening up in Inglewood. That's a very expensive arena, you know. It's fucking really, really expensive.
Yeah. Palmer's opened up his wallet for that.
Paul George and Kawhi are not going anywhere. They need those guys.
Okay. Yeah. I'm happy you realize a lot of people have been saying if they don't make it, they're like, oh, Paul George or Kawhi, they're going to break them up. I'm like, why the heck would you break them up? And they're going to be people selling tickets at this new arena.
You need to sell tickets.
Even if you guys fall short in the playoffs again and whatever, you need to sell regular season tickets. Bomber needs to make some of that money back that he's putting in to this arena. So they have to be there, even if it's just to get people in the seats. They have to sell tickets.
Yep.
I like the idea. I've been trying to figure out, because if they fall short or whatever, injuries, I've been thinking, well, what do they do? Because they have to do something. Obviously, I believe they not trade Paul George or Kawhi. I didn't think Ty Lue might just say, I'm out and I want to give my services to a better, just a different opportunity. That thought didn't cross my mind. And I think I agree with it. I think I agree with that. There's no way they break up Paul George and Kawhi.
No. If I'm not mistaken, I think Ty Lue's on his last year of his deal. I think so. The only reason I say he's going to be out is because if I'm not mistaken, Stephen A said this blatantly on first day. He was like, listen, if they don't like Ty Lue, Oh fuck! Oh, who was it? He did report this, Stephen A. He was like, "I know for a fact a team contacted the Clippers and said, "Will you, we'll make a trade. We'll take Ty Lue off you." And I forget who. I think it might have been it was the Phoenix Suns. It was the
Wow.
Phoenix Suns. It was the Phoenix Suns. Did contact. They wanted to get Ty Lue from them to obviously help coach KD and them boys, Devin Booker.
Mm-hmm.
So people
Wow.
want his services. They want his services because he's that damn
Yeah.
good of a head coach. He gets you can see it in the Phoenix series when Kawhi and Paul George are going down, and he's able to compete with the Phoenix team that's supposed to blow this team out of the water.
Yep.
Your best player is Russell Westbrook, and not a Russell Westbrook that was 26, a Russell Westbrook's at like 34 years old, and you're competing. You're a high level head coach in my eyes. I
Yeah.
think Drew Holiday is a good fit, though. I do think Drew Holiday is a good fit for the Clippers. I just don't know if he's gonna. Like I said, I feel like the writing's on the wall that Drew's gonna go to Philly and Harden's gonna end up in the Clippers, and I just really don't think that Harden's a good fit for the Clippers at all. I really don't.
Yeah, that would really surprise me if Harden goes to the Clippers. I don't think he's a good fit. I agree there. And I also don't know what they're like. Obviously, it depends what the trade would look like, but they already have some decent, like between Russ, Bones, and Mann. Like I like their guard rotation a lot.
Yeah.
I know some people are up and down on Terrence Mann. I for some reason I really like his game, but Bones Highland is a solid defender. But Russ to me fits perfect on that team because he's a guy who's, like you said, he's going to do the intangibles. It's funny that you said you weren't into the idea of him, them trading for him when they got him. I loved it immediately because for me, that team was not built for Russ, but it was a team that had the personnel that Russ needs. Guys who can space the floor. He looked horrible on the Lakers. We all knew he was going to, the day the trade was announced, the conversation was, why? No one on this team can shoot, and you're adding another guy who can't shoot. Like, we all knew it wasn't going to work. So I wasn't surprised he looked abysmal. I was maybe surprised he looked as bad as he did, but I knew he was going to look bad.
Yeah.
But I think the Clippers fit was good. I don't want Harden on the Clippers. I think he's going to mess it up. If Harden goes to the Clippers, I can see Harden's personality is so big, I guess I'll say. And because at least the way he presents himself, Kawhi presents himself as a really reserved person. I have to say presents because he's so low key that honestly, I don't even know what he is. Like, no idea what his personality is in real life. There's potentially, I can see them clashing and button heads.
Yeah. They are two different philosophies. I mean, listen, Kawhi is fun guy. You didn't know that? He's fun guy. Right? Isn't that what they call him? Fun guy. Kawhi. That's a great point. The styles clash of Kawhi and Harden, because those two guys. I mean, Harden's a guy who likes clubbing before games, and Kawhi Leonard's a guy that likes to nobody know what he's doing, his next move. He's literally the definition of those clips you see on TikTok and stuff of can't let him know my next move. That's Kawhi Leonard right there. But yeah, this is the final thing I'll say on that. We all know what this team can be, and we just hope. Honestly, as a basketball fan, you should just hope and pray that this team can finally get the luck on their side.
Yeah, I agree.
Championship caliber team. I truly do believe it. Like I know I started off this conversation with you, Hawk, saying I truly do believe that Kawhi Leonard would be the best player in the world right now and for the past couple of years if he never got injured after Toronto. Because honestly, if he never got injured at San Antonio, he would be the best player in the world.
Injuries don't happen.
It's just so. It hurts my heart, really does, because this guy is generational talent. All right, so let's move on to a little bit of quick takes here. We got
all right.
First one up, the Dallas Mavericks, Hawk. I don't know your thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks of last season or coming up to this season. Will the Dallas Mavericks become a top-tier team once again?
I think they have the potential to. The biggest question mark for me, I know what I'm going to get from Luka. I know what I'm going to get from Kyrie. I really do think that's a really good pairing together. Kyrie knows how to play off ball, like with ball dominant guys, and knows how to get to his spots. And when he has the ball, everyone talks about Kyrie's skill and how, that conversation was exhausted over like a summer ago, most skilled point guard of all time, stuff like that. Kyrie's crazy efficient though, like crazy efficient. The biggest question mark I have and to me for the Dallas Mavericks though, outside of Kyrie, outside of Luka, they're going to go as far as Grant Williams takes them. Grant Williams has the potential to have a very Draymond Green-like role for this team. He's going to be asked to do a lot defensively, to guard a lot of positions defensively. And I would love to him be able to, not to the extent of Draymond, I really think Draymond's like an excellent basketball player. His counting stats are usually trash, but he's an excellent basketball player. He has the opportunity to be a very similar offensive hub. Grant Williams in like the short pick and roll, making passes out of the pick and roll, out of being that roller spot. He could be a lot for that team, and they're going to need him to be a lot for that team because they got rid of a lot of their defense. And the trades that they made between getting Grant and getting Kyrie, they got rid of a lot of their defense. They're going to lean on him a lot. If he's not playing at a high level, I don't see Dallas going far, to be honest with you. Like, they're going to have a really good offense. We're going to get scored on a lot. But he has the ability to be really, really good for them defensively. So they're going to go as far as he goes. I think they could be top 6. I don't know about top tier, but I think they can avoid a play-in if they're playing to their capabilities.
So here was my take on last year when Kyrie was moved. I was not a fan of that at all. I was like, I see the writing on the wall, and this is not going to work. We talked a little bit earlier about styles clash with Kawhi and Harden. I mean, I don't know if you can get any different than Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. You want to talk about styles clash and personalities clash.
I get
Kyrie
that.
Irving is a man that likes to be out there. He likes to consider himself a martyr, I guess is the best term, maybe. And Luka, philosopher. There you go. And Luka Doncic is kind of like head down. I'm focused on basketball. I want to be the best player in the world. Baby Bird is what they call him. There's a reason they call him that. I didn't like the move at all for that reason and for on the court. I hear you on Kyrie has played very well off the ball. You obviously think a lot more to those LeBron days and when he was able to work off of LeBron. But I just don't think these two mesh very well. And I think the biggest stats to look at that was the fourth quarter shot attempts. I don't know if you followed that, but this is what I'll say. I'm a major fan of sports morning talk shows. Undisputed and First Take are my go-tos. That's kind of been my way. I'm a big Skip fan. That's just my guy. I know he gets a lot of hate. I get it. I understand.
Mad at that. Yeah, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
This is where Skip kind of came in and kind of opened my eyes for this because he would keep track of the counting numbers in the fourth quarter of when Luka and Kyrie were there. I don't have them in front of me right now, but I'm telling you the difference where Kyrie was getting major shot attempts in the fourth quarter and Luka's were much lower. The disparity was not good at all. This is Luka's team. I know Kyrie's clutch. I know he's got that capability. I know it's okay at times. I'm not saying it's not okay listen, you got Kyrie for a reason for sometimes he can spell for Luka, but when you actually look at those numbers, man, it's not like, a little bit like this or like, even. It's Kyrie's taking a lot more than Luka, and that's not good. I'm pretty sure they're at one point, and I don't know if he was talking about basketball because he wasn't being very clear. Luka likes to keep to himself, but in one of the press conferences, he was like, this isn't fun ananymore. I know.
Remember that.
He openly was speaking about how much he misses Jalen Brunson. He wished that Jalen Brunson was still his teammate. Apologies. That was my laundry alarm.
No problem. Yeah.
Miley Cyrus, shout out. That's my girl.
Nice.
But he was openly talking about Jalen Brunson and how much he misses him and wanted him back and how he was like, how could you not pay him to get the money? Hindsight's 2020. They should have kept him, right? They should have just kept the team that they ran back with and were a top tier team, and they probably would still be a very good team. This is why
they offered that early extension, he would have signed it.
Oh my God. This is my one fear.
They would have saved money.
This is my one fear with the Mavs. With Luka. And I love Luka. I love his game a lot. And I love his intangibles, really. My one fear is he like James Harden? And what I mean by that is you say Kyrie's great off the ball. Is Luka great off the ball? Because when James Harden's off the ball, he's not really very effective. He's a guy that's just going to kind of go stand over there and not do anything really. And that's kind of really what Luka is too. Luka's ball dominant. We talked about KP earlier, how much his complaints were, bro, I'm just not getting the ball, man. Like my shot attempts are like 12 shots a game. I'm supposed to be the second guy on this team. My number should be 15, 16, 17 while Luka's taking 24 or whatever. That's my one fear with Luka. Not taking anything as talent. The talent should be, taking that, controlling the ball that much, but can he learn to play off of another star as well? And then defensively, both of them are really just not very good defenders. And like you said, they traded away a lot of their defenders in Finney Smith, who's an excellent perimeter defender. It's just they added Grant Williams. Oh God, I'm forgetting their other players that they've added from the team. Do you remember? Do you have them? Who they added? I know they added Grant Williams was their big addition, right? Because they lost Christian Wood. Who did they replace Christian Wood with? JaVale McGee?
I don't think they did technically. I'm pulling it up right now. Because JaVale McGee went to Dwight Powell's still there.
I looked at it yesterday.
They grabbed Rashawn Holmes.
Yes, from the Kings.
Yeah, Rashawn Holmes is the big pickup they got. Yeah,
and he's kind of a little bit of a stretch big.
Their defense isn't going to be good, like at all.
It's rocks, like they're doing Seth Curry.
Looking at this roster,
Seth Curry.
Yeah, Seth Curry, I like that addition.
He's not a good defender though.
Yeah, the defense is not going to be good.
Derek Jones Jr.
I will say, yep.
Markeith. Go ahead. You want to?
I will say, and I remember looking into those fourth quarter stats. I forgot how drastic they were.
Yeah, a little bit.
That comes down to, I think, coaching, to be honest. In my mind, it comes down to coaching. It comes down to fit and coaching. Like stuff like that is like, that's their first year together. They didn't play that many games. A lot of it's going to be like, Jason Kidd, can you make something work?
Yeah.
I don't know how people feel about Jason Kidd as a head coach. I have mixed emotions on him. I think his past 2 seasons in Dallas have been way better than what he was doing in Milwaukee. As much as Giannis, for some reason, loves him in Milwaukee, like maybe they had a good one-on-one relationship. In my opinion, he was a good coach there. He's been better in Dallas, but a lot of that fourth quarter stuff is going to come down to coaching execution, getting guys to buy in. It's not going to be easy. Like it's not. No. They have a lot of offensive potential though.
Yeah.
I like the comparison to James Harden and Luka. And some of that might be if Kidd can because he's younger still. He's not young, because he's younger. If Kidd can get him to buy into some off-ball movement, it can work.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot of pressure is going to be on coaching to get these guys to buy in. If they don't buy in, it's going to go south.
It's going to go south.
It will. If they don't buy in, it's going to go south.
I've heard that. From the basketball stratosphere, people on Jason Kidd, where they've kind of come down on Jason Kidd a little bit. It's just you kind of wait and see process. The last thing I'll say is I think the Mavs right now are fighting for that 6th spot with a Sacramento and a Memphis, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. And if we'll get into it, if New Orleans, T-Wolves, or OKC take a jump, they're going to be right there competing with those teams. But honestly, they are definitively behind Denver, the Lakers, Clippers, Golden State, and Phoenix, in my opinion. Those are teams I would, because I'm obviously talking fully healthy. If everybody's fully healthy, those are the teams definitively I'm taking over Dallas, and Dallas is fighting for that 6th spot with all those other teams. But that kind of leads right into my other next quick take. The Denver Nuggets obviously are the reigning, defending NBA champions. The last time a team repeated was the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, though, those teams were stacked and the deck was stacked, especially the second year. Year, because then there was no Kyrie on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it just wasn't even fair at all. Can Denver repeat? This is what I'll say, and then I'll pass it off to you, Hawk. Man, is it hard? Is it hard to repeat? It's very, very difficult. And like I finished saying, the Golden State Warriors were the last team to do it, and the deck was stacked. So and Denver is the deck is not stacked. The West is stacked. It is very deep. Now I know I said that last year, and a lot of people said that last year, and then it kind of quickly fell apart. That's why I say you obviously have to have the caveat. We're talking fully healthy. If everybody's fully healthy, this Western Conference is stacked from 1 to 10. And I'm not even kidding. Because this is just the star power in the West is ridiculous. And then you look at the East and you're like, well, what's going on in the East? Well, the balance of powers is very much in the Western Conference. So I I don't think that they're going to repeat. I think we're going to get a new champion this year. I just think it's way too difficult. And I think the clock is going to strike not midnight on because that's the bad thing in Cinderella, but it's going to strike right on one of those either Lakers, Clippers, Warriors, or Phoenix, where they're going to one of those teams or two of those teams going to be healthy, and then they're actually going to be able to compete with the Denver Nuggets late in the playoffs. What do you think?
I like the idea. I don't know if I can't say they will repeat because, like you said, it's too close to just flat out say they will. But I'll say yes, I think they can. And the reason is Jokic is simply that good. In my mind, Jokic is the best player in basketball right now. And looking around the Western Conference, when I think about teams and how Jokic plays and how teams would have to defend them, in my opinion, the Lakers are the team best suited to defend him. And we still saw how well he played against them. Like the Lakers have multiple bodies to throw at him. They have the ability to throw different looks at him. And we saw still how well he played against them. As much as I love some of the other teams obviously can get it done. The Phoenix Suns can get it done. The Clippers can get it done. And they play a different brand of basketball than the Nuggets will. Because of Jokic's skill set, he has the ability to, we say this about a lot of players, but he has the true ability to control the game. Because he can, if he wants to be, he can be the best rebounder on the court. He can walk the ball up slow and slow it down and make you play at his place in the playoffs. And he has the ability to make his teammates better. I think the biggest takeaway that a lot of people were worried about of losing Bruce Brown is like, oh, you lose Bruce Brown, like he was such a big piece. But don't get me wrong, he was really, really, really a big piece. But Jokic is so good that Christian Braun can look just like Bruce Brown next year. To me, he can look just like him next year. So will they win it? I can't say 100%, but they definitely can, simply because Jokic is that good.
Yeah, and listen, Christian Braun, that fucking goddamn kid, making some big ass plays in the finals too. Yeah, listen, Bruce Brown, those type of players, they're good players. They're good role players, but they're kind of. And I had this argument with Nick on Thursday about Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, and he believes that they're needle movers, and I was like, bro, they're not needle movers. Those type of players are replaceable. They're players you can find. They're players that you have to develop. And when you have a guy like a Jokic or a system like the Miami Heat, you can develop those guys. You can make those guys better. Jokic elevates everybody around him, floor raiser. Yeah. So like Bruce Brown, is he going to be missed? Sure. Fill it, next man up mentality. You got to fill it, and I think they will fill it. I truly do. All right, so what's the next topic? Is the Kings. Okay, the Kings were the surprise team of the NBA last year, right? They some people predicted it, but I don't know if anybody went that far with it.
No,
that was a big one. Do they take a step back? I think just honestly, objectively speaking, they will take a step back because I just don't think they're going to surprise anybody, and they're not going to mix. I'm leaving Denver out there because they're relatively healthy. Those other big four teams, the question marks of the West that really make or break the West of being either this stacked unit or it's kind of like subpar like last year. I think they're going to be healthy this year, and that's where I think Sacramento takes a step back because I don't think they have the fire, even though I love De'Aaron Fox. He's got all the talent in the world. He's the fastest player in the league right now. He's the quickest player in the league as well. And that deadly duo, it is what it is. It's deadly. It's something hard to stop. And he has learned to become a very good shooter too, from the mid range and 3-point. He kind of fell off in the playoffs. Wasn't shooting that well from 3-point line, but he was making big shots in the fourth quarter. I think he led the league in fourth quarter makes or percentages last year. So that's incredible, especially at, is he 6 feet, 6'1"? That's insane. Little man controlling the game, which is just awesome. Allen Iverson. So what do you think? Yeah. Step back this year.
I think they take a step back, but not because, very similar to what you said, not because they're going to be worse. If the other Mavericks fight, they'll be one of those teams fighting for that 6th spot in my mind. Like they're at least going to be in the realm of fighting for that 6th spot, if not one of the higher play-in seeds. One of the things two things I'm excited to see for the Kings, because I love the Kings for some reason. Keegan Murray, I'm looking forward to him being able to do more potentially on the offensive side of the ball. Like I wanted to see him put the ball on the floor a little bit more. And this one is a non-basketball related one. I want them to keep the beam alive. It doesn't have to be like as big as a deal. Like we don't need Sports Center and Bleacher Report to post about it. I think that's what makes the rest of us NBA fans annoyed about it. Like Bleacher Report's still posting the beam every night. Like we don't need to see it.
Yeah.
But for Kings fans in Sacramento, I hope they keep it for them over there. I do.
Yeah, no, respect to the
Like,
respect to the beam. Respect to the beam. Yeah, once it's
don't post it, Bleacher Report. Don't post it because you post it, we're gonna hate it. If you don't post it, let it just happen. Just let it happen.
It's kind of like when your teachers or your parents start doing the thing, like the oh shit, the whatever thing, like something cool nowadays. They go you're or whatever to you, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
no,
then they make it not cool.
No, it's not cool anymore. No, you can't do it anymore. So yeah, Bleacher Report, stop being that type of person. All right?
Yeah,
step back. All right, but yeah, I agree with you. And Keegan Murray was an interesting one too because he was very important in the regular season, but then in the playoffs you saw a complete flip, and that's not by accident either. Harrison Barnes is a guy who's a vet and can be trusted more in the playoffs than a rookie, so they obviously went to him more than Keegan Murray. That's no slight at Murray, even though he was struggling in the playoffs against the Golden State Warriors. He just got to put it together. It'll take time. He's a young player. He'll get it together.
In the words of Jared Allen, the Bryce got light. The lights got too bright.
And finally, for quick takes, this is the interesting one. Which team out of the New Orleans Pelicans, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Oklahoma City Thunder will take that jump this year, or will they not take that jump this year?
I have my big and most faith in OKC. I like what they did last year and what they were to do a lot. Like, don't come in and try to be the number one guy on this team. It's clear that this is SGA's team at this point. Let's just see what you can do. At the very least, he's going to be a guy who can potentially block some shots just solely based off this length, knock some shots down. Like, I think OKC is the team out of these three to take that next step. The T-Wolves, ironically, are in my they're in my hottest take section, so I'll save my thoughts on them for later if we get there, because I'm not high on them, to be honest with you. Pelicans, I want to say them. I love Zion. When he's on the floor, he lives up to the hype. He's never on the floor, so I can't pick them. I just can't.
He's doing a lot of other things off the floor. So he had a very interesting off season.
He had an interesting summer, yes.
I mean, hot girls.
You give 18-year-olds millions of dollars. Like this type of stuff happens.
Listen, yeah.
Like that if one. If you gave me at 18, 20, 30 million dollars, I would have made dumb decisions with my life as well. So
yeah, but like that, all I'm saying is that one though, right? Like that one.
I mean, yeah.
Like you could have picked a better one.
I get that.
You could have picked a better one. You know what I mean? That one is like, I've seen her before. I've seen some stuff. All right. I'm just saying.
I get that. Yeah. There's better
not
options.
Really what it's hyped up to be. You could have picked another one. But listen, what he does in his own time is his own time. I really don't care. Get down with it, man. Get down with it. Just don't let it affect your on the court stuff, and no problem here. So what I'll say about those three teams, right? The three teams that kind of I think a lot of people look at and are like, we're kind of like waiting. We're like, is there any of you going to make this jump, right? OKC, I think it's pretty obviously what's going on there. They're just really young. We're kind of waiting for that.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, honestly, I don't think they make that jump this year yet. I think they're still too young for me. Shea, obviously, entering his prime now. I think he's 25. He's just entering that. But Giddey, Chet, 21 years old apiece. Giddey's going to be 21 in October 10th, I believe, 98. So happy early birthday to him. Jalen Williams is 22. People are high on him. He looks like he's bulked up a little bit. Obviously, it's not, and I'm nowhere to talk. I'm skinny man out here too, but he's not this big, thick guy. And if you have to go out there and possibly be, guard a Nikola Jokic or a Joel Embiid, try that. That's close to 300 pounds coming to you, man. That's not going to work really, really well. So I'm just like a little bit on OKC there. The Timberwolves made a couple of small moves, right? They re-signed Naz Reid and Edwards to the contract, the Supermax contract, a little bit older. I don't think he's a needle mover now because he's a rookie, but I think the the thing with the Pelicans is it starts and it ends with Zion Williamson. When the guy's on the
Yeah.
court, I believe they were the 3 seed when he was on the
Yeah.
court last year. When he's
Hmm.
on the court, this guy can give you 27 and like 9, I think it was, in boards, and an efficient
Yeah.
player, 57, 56% from the field, Charles Barkley-esque. But
That's
you
what's so
can't
crazy about Zion.
go ahead.
He lives up to expectation when he plays. Like there were so many expectations when watching him in Duke was like, oh, he's gonna come in and bully people and like just be this athletic phenom. When he plays, he lives up to every single
Is that
expectation.
guy?
Like
Yeah.
he's exactly all the hype. He is that. It's only when he plays and he doesn't play so much.
Yeah. And listen, it has to do with, it's been mentioned, the nutrition, the weight. He's got to slim down a little bit. He's got to. You got to take it seriously. And obviously with his off the court stuff, he's growing up. He's a young kid. Listen, you make stupid mistakes even when you're an adult, but you gotta start making the right choices now in terms of basically got to ask your question, do I want to be great? Do I want to be great? And that's the question he has for himself. And if he wants to, listen, I have no doubt Zion Williamson will be that guy, but he's got to be that guy. So that wraps up our quick takes. So now let's get on to Hawks takes, as I like to call it. Let's start off with this because you kind of teed it up earlier. Your boldest take for this season. I know you mentioned the Timberwolves. Is that the number one for you right now?
Yeah, I don't think the Timberwolves are making the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening.
What about playing? Do you think they get playing or?
I could see a world where they miss that too. They might make it, but like if the Timberwolves are like let me rethink. It's 9, 10. What is it? 9, 10, 11, 12? No, I'm sorry. 7, 8, 9, 10. If they're the 10 seed, I wouldn't be surprised. If they're the 10 seed, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I love the individual players of the Timberwolves. Like I've been a Rudy Gobert fan for a long time. I think he rightfully got those 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. His defense is insane. No one else was really playing defense on the Utah Jazz team. They were a top 5, top 10 defense every single year, solely because of Rudy Gobert. I love Karl-Anthony Towns and what he does. I immediately hated the idea of them playing together. What makes Karl-Anthony Towns special is his speed and be able to go around faster to slower defenders. You can't do that in the power forward position. Power forwards are faster than they were 5, 6 years ago. He doesn't have the speed to blow by power forwards of today. And if he does, guess who's right there in his way? Rudy Gobert and whoever's guarding Rudy. Anthony Edwards, great at driving to the basket. Guess who's in the way? Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert and whoever's guarding both of them. And not only that, coupled with the fact that Karl-Anthony Towns only played 29 games last year. So truthfully, they're still figuring out how to make it work, make that team work. They still have to figure that out. So they're going to spend like half this season figuring that out. So probably lose some games they shouldn't. And even once they figure it out, running perfectly, I still don't think it's a smartly constructed roster. I don't have faith in this Timberwolves team. I like the players. I like Anthony Edwards. I like Karl-Anthony Towns. I like Mike Conley. I like the individual players. I don't like them together on the same team. So I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
Listen, I hear that completely. That was kind of my take last season. When John was on, he was massive on the Minnesota Timberwolves. He picked them to be the number 1 seed in the Western Conference when the Rudy Gobert
Did he
trade.
really?
Yeah, he really did.
I got to talk to John about this.
Yeah, we got that's between you and him. I already had that conversation with him when he made that prediction. I was like, "You're out of your goddamn mind, man." But I hear you, and I think you hit the nail on the head with that completely. Is the individual parts are good, right? Like Rudy Gobert, he's not what he once was as a defender, still a very good defender. Karl-Anthony Towns, I got finished saying 27-12 player. Anthony Edwards, a guy who will eventually probably be a 28 point per game scorer, possibly even more.
Yeah.
They don't fit. Mike Conley, veteran point guard who can set everything up. These guys don't fit because now you got Karl-Anthony Towns, like you said, playing the 4 and going out because you can't put freaking Rudy Gobert out in the 3-point line because that's just not smart. Because guess what? The guy who's guarding him is going to say, yeah, Rudy, you go stand over there because I'll be over here hovering and playing free safety, basically, to use a football analogy. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Will they be able to make it work? I don't think so. This is not like the Pelicans Twin Towers. for that short period of time with DeMarcus
yeah.
Cousins and Anthony Davis, because both those guys can stretch the floor.
Mhm.
This one's much different. So yeah, I hear you on it. Listen, if they miss the playoffs and they don't even get, Ant Edwards is not going to be a happy camper. He's not going to
He's
be a
not.
happy camper.
He's not.
And and listen, Minnesota, you're already battling. You're not a big market. You're already battling that. You don't want to battle, and they sold the farm for freaking Rudy Gobert. And I'm sorry, it was a terrible trade. It was a terrible trade. You sold everything, and it just wasn't a good trade.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
I'll
bad.
say
Go ahead.
my thoughts on the Rudy Gobert trade when it happened was, because it was the Timberwolves, I hated the trade. Everyone was wrapped up in what the trade was for, like what he was traded for.
Yeah.
I don't think it was necessarily overpay if he's traded to a different team. And like coming at where he was when the trade happened, he was the third best center in basketball, in my mind. Just solely based off his defense, he was the third best center in basketball. It was either him or Cat at the time, and a lot of times I gave the nod to him.
All right.
The trade, if it happens for another team, it makes way more sense to me. It's the dumbest trade ever, only because the Timberwolves traded for him.
You know what team Rudy Gobert fits perfectly on? The Dallas Mavericks.
Oh gosh, that would go crazy. Yes.
Imagine Kyrie and Luka with Rudy Gobert. That's a literal perfect fit.
That's perfect.
It's perfect.
That would go crazy.
It would be insane if you had that. Because you got two guys who struggle defensively. Well, now if they get blown by, you've got Rudy Gobert there. And listen, I'm not a big Rudy Gobert fan. I got to be honest with you. You're probably over
Most
here with
people aren't.
Rudy.
It's okay.
I'm just not a Rudy guy. But listen, I hear you, and he is a very good defender. And he's a phenomenal rebounder still too. Here's an interesting here's a take I want your opinion on. Mr. Victor Wembanyama, number 1 overall pick. Are you a believer in the hype? How are your feelings on Wemby?
So I'm a believer in the hype to an extent. I think the hype is like gotten blown well out of proportion. So now I hesitate to say I'm a believer in the hype just because how far it's gone. But I think he's going to be really, really good coming into it. Like he's going to have an immediate impact in a couple of ways. To me, the shot blocking is going to be there based off just the height and athleticism. Guards, based on how the centers are in the league right now, guards aren't used to playing against guys. Surprise a lot of people and get block shots that they thought would have been an easy take. He's going to surprise a lot of people. So defensively, he's going to have immediate impact solely on blocking shots. The foot speed, we'll have to see how well he does in a pick and roll. Like NBA guards are faster than some of the guards he sees. So we'll have to see what his pick and roll defense looks like. Offensively, I think he's going to be solid as well. I just hope he doesn't settle for too many jump shots too soon, because I think that make, if the shot's not falling tonight, I hope he just doesn't settle and tries to get to the basket. He has the height for it. The one knock I understandably see a lot of people have on him is, well, thin frame. What is he going to do? Get bodied in the post and this, that, and the third. That's a valid claim and a valid concern. Me playing devil's advocate, outside of Jokic and outside of Embiid and Cat to an extent, it's not like teams are posting up their center and say, hey, go get us a bucket. Like that just, there's not a lot of centers that do that. It just doesn't happen that much in today's NBA. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about every night the center's going to kill the Thunder. Kill the Spurs, because centers don't kill like that anymore. They just don't.
I hear that.
So I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to have a good first season. I really do.
Yeah.
It might not be the crazy hype that people wanted, because that hype was a bit much, but he's going to be good.
I mean, you talk about the hype. Chris Broussard literally went on, on First Things First as a show and said, if this guy isn't, oh God, who was it? I think it was Olajuwon or Anthony Davis, or was it Kevin Durant or something? He's a bust, basically.
Like that's ridiculous.
That's a little much. Yeah, it's like, come on, man, what are we doing here? The one thing on Wemby, how much have you seen of actual like Wemby? Like, have you?
So like full games I've watched. I think I've only watched like 4 full games of his. I watched a lot of highlights, but like actually sitting down and watching like 4 full games.
I haven't seen. Were those in France, or was that? Well, he only played what, like 10 total.
I watched
in the open. What was it?
He only played
the NBA offseason. I forget what the hell summer league.
Correct. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I'm ahead. I'm like, what was that? Yeah, I watched the summer league stuff. I watched a little bit of the France stuff.
I haven't seen much. Full disclosure, I haven't seen like really
his
anything.
game to me. It was curious to see for me for like how like France used like when he played overseas how he was being used. I think he'll be used differently. A lot, not all the time, but a lot of times he was just giving the ball to the 3-point line and saying like go to work, figure it out. Especially even in that summer league stuff, it was just here's a ball at the top of the key. Let's see what you can do.
Figure it out. Yeah.
I don't think we'll see that from him. Like Pop's smarter than that. That's also another reason why I think he'll be fine. Popovich is. If any coach could figure out how to make a talent like him work, it's going to be Popovich. Even with all the questions of figuring out how he's going to fit into the offense, what are they going to have him do? Is he going to be posting up guys? He's going to get the ball on 3-point line. Popovich will find a way to make that work and get him the ball in his spots.
Yeah,
I don't want him to have the ball in the 3-point line all the time. Like if he can operate in that high post, mid post area, I think that'll be a sweet spot for him.
Yeah. Listen, he is set up for the success, right? Popovich, the Spurs culture. This is what I heard from somebody, right? And I was like, this is kind of actually, it's true. And it's a concern for me too. He's not, and you kind of touched on it a little bit. He's not fast enough on the perimeter, but he's also not big enough in the post. Big by, mass and size. He's obviously got the height. And that's kind of like a concern. So like, where does he go? That's my only concern about Wemby. And you kind of saw a little bit of that in the summer league. Obviously a lot of that could have been attributed to like nerves and just, a lot of pressure being put on him and he's just not really ready. I don't think he had played basketball for a little bit. First time playing NBA style basketball.
Yeah.
So a lot of factors going in there. So yeah, don't rush too soon, but that's an interesting thing for where I'm going to be kind of keeping my eyes open about that. And also the big hullabaloo about this guy, 7'6", 7'7". He's 7'3". He's 7'3". Like he's 7'3".
He's like
Kristaps. We've seen 7'3" guys.
Yeah, he's KP size. But the reason I say that is KP's a good rim protector though. Like his defense isn't always amazing. KP's a good rim protector.
KP's got mass. KP's like what? But 260 maybe. I think. My
devil's advocate is we say this a lot about guys when they come into like those long, lanky guys. They might come into the league thinner, but the NBA, you get some nutritionists, you get on a program.
Fill out.
We saw Chet bulk up. We'll see what he looks like. We only saw photos, but we'll see what he looks like compared to other guys on the court.
Yeah.
It's going to take time. His first year, he's going to look thin. He's going to look frail. Give him a year or two, and he's going to put some muscle on.
I don't know if it's with tall people or maybe just the way he is, but he's got like that little bit of hunch a little bit. I don't know. Maybe he's just
he's got a little hunch going on. I don't know what that is.
Don't ruin that neck. You're losing an inch right there, man.
Yeah.
You got to take that on. All right. So finally, Hawk, the final question for you. It's just a fun question. You got to ask every basketball person out there this question. Who is your greatest of all time?
I'm so split on this. Like, I'm gonna say my GOAT is Jordan. Like my GOAT is still Jordan. But I'm one of those people who are like, I'm not gonna run through a wall saying my GOAT is Jordan. If somebody told me their GOAT is LeBron, I 100% get it. Like 100% get it. And honestly, you catch me on the wrong day, I might tell you LeBron's the best of all time too. Like truthfully, like I 100% see the argument. For me, and I fall prey to I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. The mystery that is Jordan, the mysticism almost, the legend, mystique, if you will.
Yeah.
The mystique. Because like I said, I didn't start watching basketball for real till like 2008. I've gone back and watched a lot of Jordan. I've gone back and watched some of his finals runs. Have I sat and watched a full 82 season game? No. So I don't know all of his game. I haven't seen it all, to be true.
Yeah, I hear you.
But sometimes when I look at his number, not necessarily the numbers, because if you look at the numbers, LeBron has the numbers. But when I look at like that, he got how many defensive player of the years, how many MVPs, like the finals MVP, like when you look at that stuff, it does look crazy. And so I fall a little bit to the mysticism. But sometimes when I take a step back, I'm like, nah, LeBron's career is really crazy as well. So I'm not mad either way. So my answer is Jordan.
So your two would be LeBron?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then are you
my like 1B would be LeBron.
1B. And then would Kareem be your 3, or do you kind of, are you a guy who likes to zazz it up and you're like, nah, Kareem's not number 3? Because I know out there in the basketball world, some people are, they take away a lot from Kareem and stuff like that.
I love what Kareem did. Kareem's also tough for me because that's definitely a guy. I just said I've only gone back and watched so
not
much of
seeing. Yeah,
Jordan.
yeah. We
I've
haven't
watched
seen.
even
Yeah, like,
less of Kareem.
100%.
Um,
You have to go
I
off of
haven't
like
done my
what
time.
he's done.
I haven't made a full list in a while, but going off of what he's done, and he's done a lot. Yeah, I would give Kareem my third. Kareem's
Okay.
my third for me.
Are you Kobe?
Like
Is
just what he
Kobe
did on Kobe's top 10 for me.
Kobe's
I
top
know
10?
he's in not in a lot of people's top 10s, but he's in my top 10.
No, he's my top 10 too.
I
Yeah,
gotta,
it's
yeah,
hard. Yeah, you can't. It's just I know there's people drawbacks. I worked with a guy who was like not the biggest Kobe guy, but it's just like you got. I mean, dude, he's when you look at it and you're like, if MJ is the GOAT, and then you've literally got the carbon copy, the next like
yeah.
this is the other guy, and he just felt one championship short. And I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of people
I
out
don't
there
really
in
know.
the what happened?
I don't know what happened there. Like there was this time frame, like 2000 and from 9 to like 13, 12, where a lot of people was like, okay, Kobe's right behind MJ. Like that was the conversation. A lot of people were asking who's better, MJ or Kobe. That was a conversation all the time.
Yeah,
Kobe was in these top 5 conversations. And then out of nowhere, I feel like the last 3 years, he just
he's
got
fallen.
pushed way out of those conversations.
Yeah, I
But
feel
it wasn't by anything new. Like nothing new happened. People just pushed him out of those conversations. I don't know what made the narrative shift.
I think it's probably have to do with LeBron a lot. Obviously, the conversation has switched a lot over the last decade with LeBron.
Which I can get, but the conversation didn't even go, okay, LeBron is now like arguing for number 2. And most people would think, okay, that means Kobe maybe went down to like 4 at most. Like he just slid
Yeah.
down because LeBron took a spot. For so many people, it's like LeBron showed up and it's like, okay, now Kobe's 12. Like, I don't know where that narrative came from. It went from Kobe's like 5 up to then LeBron shows up and then it's like, okay, Kobe's 12. I don't know
Kobe's
what
12.
happened there.
Where'd you get there? How did 2 + 2 = 8? I don't know. I don't know how that makes any
Yes.
sense. But yeah, you got to give Kobe. For me, I've always said MJ is my GOAT. I'm with you. I haven't been able to really witness a lot of MJ. I go off a lot of also just respected opinions in the sports stratosphere of what people have said about
Yeah.
LeBron. Obviously, I'm big on listening to people who are much smarter than me. I'm really big on that, right? But when people have much more
Same.
knowledge, you kind of like you learn to be like, all right, sometimes you speak and sometimes you got to sit back, open the ears, shut the mouth, and be a sponge. And that's what I do. So,
Yeah.
and then obviously you kind of just look at it and you compare what you can compare and what you know of the stories and stuff like that. Obviously, watching The Last Dance was an incredible experience for me, being able to kind of get a behind the scenes stuff and some other things about that. So I've always been an MJ is my GOAT. LeBron is number 2. And really the biggest reason for why MJ is the GOAT for me and why LeBron really can't surpass it is because, and I'll die on this hill, LeBron James, for how great he is, he's number 2 all time. He has the biggest black mark in possibly sports history. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's the 2011 NBA Finals against the Dallas
That
Mavericks.
Dallas series.
Okay. Where a guy in LeBron James was averaging, I believe, 16 points per game that series. He was disappearing. He was getting locked up by Jason Terry, people. Jason Terry. All right. I don't, playing zone or whatever. It doesn't matter. All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was bad. That's bad. You can't have that happen. And for me, you look at that and you go, I can't have, and I know he's, the comeback and stuff like that, but it's just, you can't get over that point. MJ will bring up Kobe's, what was it? The Phoenix series where he just refused to stop shooting. But that's not even a bit, that's not even a black mark either. Like LeBron literally, steal a line from my boy Skip, the chosen one became the frozen one. He just wouldn't, he didn't do anything.
Yeah. It's crazy when I look back on that series sometimes. Like the way LeBron played in that series, you would think that was his use for it. Like that series was horrible.
What were they up? They were up 2-0, right? They won the first 2 games.
Yeah, at one point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Dwayne Wade showed up. Nobody could complain about Dwayne Wade's knees. He was that guy in that series. That was LeBron's series to show up, and they didn't. Listen, they gave 2 more finals after that and great series, especially the Spurs one, which was it's just one of the greatest moments in my sports life. A bang,
Yeah.
tie through all that. That's such a great moment. But yeah, that is the discussion point. I love the GOAT boldest season. Listen, you're not in the Timberwolves. Do you have any other bold take? Do you have any? Because I didn't ask you. Is there any other that you're like? Where's the T-Wolves the one?
T-Wolves is definitely my one. And it's something that T-Wolves, and I'm not high on Trae Young and the Hawks. Like, I don't necessarily have a take for it, but I come to the realization a couple of weeks ago that there are certain teams that I realize I need to realize, is it a bias in myself for some reason, or do I really just think these teams are bad and it's like real? The T-Wolves are number one on that list, so I'm going to pay attention to them a lot this year to see. Trae Young and the Hawks are high on my list of like, I don't believe in you a lot, but maybe I need to check myself to make sure I'm not just being a hater. And so I'm going to pay attention to the Hawks a lot this year's first fight for a play-in this year.
Oh, the Magic. Oh, you mentioned the Magic. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the Pistons and the Magic, both of them, I think, will
I know people are high on
play-in fighters.
Yeah, some people are high on the Magic. Very young team. Like Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony's sporadic, not very efficient, but I like him. I like what they're doing. I've always been a kind of fan. Listen, the Magic have one of the best logos and uniforms.
Oh, their new. Did you see the new jersey drop?
Oh, it's magnificent.
Exactly.
It's beautiful. And you guys too. I throw it up. The Philadelphia Sixers. I always love when playing on 2K. You put up the basketball with like the gold behind it and the old 76ers gear.
Yeah.
I love the logos. I love stuff like that. It's just it's always fun when they throw it back too, and they throw up like the courts and stuff, and it's all like back to like the 90s and stuff like that. It's always interesting to see that. I love that. But that will do everything for that's gonna wrap episode 130 up. We talked. What do we got? We got Media Day starts tomorrow, and then we're ramping up. We're in October right now. Less than 25 days, I believe, until the start of the NBA season. Are you guys play opening day?
We play the second day. We have the Bucks as our first game.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. In Philly, do you know?
I think it's in. That's a good question. I need to check. I think it's in Milwaukee though, but I need to check. I don't know where it's at.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Listen, the clock is winding. Basketball season's underway. I know a lot of diehard basketball fans are going to be excited for that. Even though football season is going on right now, you got the football game going on right now. Jaguars are up 20-7 in London, England.
Oh wow!
But that's going to wrap up episode 130 of the Wise Guys podcast. I was Brandon Capozziello. Thank you for being with me today, HawksHoops guys. Appreciate it. If you go follow him on Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Links are in the description. Go show him love. And if you liked this video, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are new. Share the content with everybody. And basketball season's underway. Football is starting to go Sunday. I'm going to go watch some football for the rest of the day. And that's going to wrap us all up. Until next time, stay classy, everybody.